Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack, back again to talk about the state of Holy Priest number 1, as we'll be doing a bunch of these videos throughout Alpha and Beta to see where the spec is at, to give my feedback, and to talk about what I like, what I hate, what I want to improve, and so on, okay? Of course, now that we actually have some dungeon content, we can start further testing out some of our theories for how we think Holy Priest is going to be shaping up, what talents are good, what talents suck, what need improvement, etc. First and foremost, with the class tree. So in fact, they actually did change Holy Priest's renew, or just renew for everybody in the class tree. And I had this whole big long rant and everything like that for this video, and it turns out they fixed it today at the time I was recording it. So wonderful for that, which is going to be good, but I still would like to see some additional changes, specifically when it comes to some of the prayer of mending supporting or renew supporting talents that are out there. Some of them, like Sayer Prayers, having a chance for Prayer of Mending to not lose a charge, are just not very interesting. Focus Mending has always been kind of weak, for example, when it came to conduits turned into talents. And I'm surprised that they're not trying to bring back certain talents like the one where you would cast when you would cast Divine Hymn, your Prayer of Mendings would not lose charges. I realize that would be something for the Holy Tree rather than the Priest Tree in general. But I think some of those things would be interesting, but certainly a lot of the ones that are like, your passives, do more passives, are, overall not super fun, or rather noticeable. And it comes out quite a bit. Also surprised that we don't have something like Divine Insight, where you'd be able to have a cooldown reset for Prayer of Mending and have it bounce instantly and do more healing, not lose charges, all those other kind of things. I'm a little surprised that none of that interaction is actually in the game, and instead we're kind of stuck with like a lot of heavy passives on that left side in particular. And even after talenting into all of them, Prayer of Mending and Renew still feel on the weaker side for a lot of the healing, or at least Renew really does feel on the weaker side for a lot of that output. But then the problem starts going deeper as you start having some abilities kind of like Shadow Mend, which sound great to be able to utilize. You can further make your flash heal more powerful and help account for the loss of flash concentration, but then you find out that there's no interaction with Holy Words because it does not replace flash heal the way it used to. So this, I'm sure PvPers are gonna like, but I really freaking hate so much for Holy, because it just means the spec has worse and worse single target output, which is a really big loss since they got rid of flash concentration in this tree. Overall, like, some of the weird things is that the Twins of the Sun Priestess is sort of like a mandatory get if you're going to go all the way down to take Translucent Image, which is the fade damage reduction. And Holy doesn't really care that much at all, quite frankly, about getting power infusion for themselves. The haste benefit is like kind of whatever. So I think a lot of the class tree when it comes to Holy Priest is a number of things that they don't really care about, and then some utility that often feels so incredibly niche that it feels bad to spec a talent point into it when we might use it once every, I don't know, 70 pulls or 40 pulls or something, unless we're trolling somebody with grip, Those things just feel really, really bad. So I think there's a very heavy lack of power when it comes to the tree for Holy Priest, and trying to make Holy and Shadow and Disc have the same stuff means a lot of times there's not a whole lot of interaction between those sort of schools and spells. I did, however, want to make sure I give a shout out to Holy Word Life, because I really talked up this spell when the talents first came out, and it seems like I might have been a smidge wrong on this one. It is a very difficult ability to use in a dungeon environment, and it does not heal for very much at all. It is just very, very, very poorly tuned. The threshold of 20% health, I actually murdered myself in-game by trying to heal a Blood Decay with Holy Word Life. I thought they were low, they healed themselves, I hit them with the ability anyway, and then it took away my last 20% health. So not too fun. Maybe you could get away with using this in a raiding environment as sort of like a last-minute emergency heal sort of deal. Like maybe if somebody has like a dot component on them and needs some kind of instant output where you're not necessarily worried about the threshold of healing, those things could be kind of helpful. But overall, this just feels like a very niche ability. But then you have other sort of talent tree spots where like Shadow Flame Prism or Mind Games or Crystalline Reflection don't actually feel like very interesting capstones for Holy Priest at all. They might be like, woo, damage, but like, why do we have translucent image and desperate prayer, cooldown reduction, like masochism, defensives? We can get all of those defensive powers, and then the end capstone tree just gives us more defensive conduits like Light's Inspiration or Charitable Soul, which were never really that good to begin with. So, you know, actually having the last 10 points at the end of the tree feel weighty, feel important, feel valuable, I think has been extremely disappointing for Holy Priest, and like trying to balance around all the different gameplay styles, I think is sort of backfiring for them when it comes to the class tree. Now, when it comes to the Holy Tree, it feels almost like there's no way to make a bad build. Remember when the builds came out and they were like, oh, like you could take like synergistic abilities, but not actually have the ability or like modifiers for renew. But you could also just not spec into renew. And they're like, yeah, it's possible to make bad builds. But when it comes to the Holy Tree, it feels like it's difficult to take bad builds, where Shaman has a wealth of possibilities ahead of it for what it wants to spec into. But you pretty much take almost everything when it comes to the Holy Tree, as everything is very tightly condensed. It doesn't span out very heavily. And this is where I really noticed it in dungeon content, that no matter how I was really speccing and building, it didn't feel like I was ever able to put together like a super strong single target healing build or a super strong AoE healing build. Everything just kind of felt mediocre. And I think part of that is there's no modifiers really for Prayer of Healing outside of Prayer Circle, where it's, okay, you can cast faster and it costs less. There's nothing that increases the healing or causes it to hit an extra target or causes it to be more centralized, more focused. There's nothing there. There's a lot of modifiers for Renew in the class tree, but Renew still feels incredibly weak despite that. Surge of Light has chances where you could proc even more surges, which is, yay, more free flash heals, and we like that. But then they don't feel very powerful when you're casting them either. And you start noticing that, like, hey, it's great, we're not spamming heal forever and ever and ever with flash concentration anymore. But then our other spells don't really feel like they're synergistic or helpful. What does feel good are two major points. Holy Words feel very good, they feel very strong, and maybe that's the idea, is that they really want you to lean and be generating and be focusing on your Holy Words in your Holy Word gen. You have things like Light of the Naru and Holy Oration that you're able to pretty easily spec into almost all the time, so maybe that's a big contributing factor to it. Divine Words, I think, is off to a good start. So that's the chakra effects that you're able to get. But being a 1 minute cooldown and only buffing one of your Holy Words by 50%, you know, once every minute, and then the extra side effects, the chakra side effects, seem a little bit too muted for what it is as a capstone, supposedly like major trait. So that, I think, is something that they could probably use to like buff things up. I like how flexible it is. I like how you can use it in a variety of situations. I like how it's just one of those easy, like, always take, always slot into. That stuff feels great. But I would like to see a bit more variety in terms of what the spells are actually able to do, because using it every minute is as the sort of, okay, I need to do more single target healing. Oh, I can buff my AoE healing. Oh, okay, I can do a little bit more damage. By the way, it's currently broken for the damage component, but whatever. I think there needs to be a little bit more, and they could probably even focus most of the gameplay differences around something like Divine Word, so that you could have more interaction with Prayer of Healing and make it feel powerful and impactful and good again, because all of Shadowlands Prayer of Healing felt terrible to cast. All of Shadowlands Renew felt terrible to cast. And I don't think at the moment Divine Word really helps either of those spells, but I think that it very much could. One thing which I think we all really kind of overlooked, or kind of shrugged our shoulders at, was Harmonious Apparatus in the talent tree. Now, originally it gave Holy Fire, Prayer of Mending, and Circle of Healing cooldown reduction for their respective Holy Word. But they split it into 3 parts, and it's not just the fact that they split it into 3. It's where they put it in the tree, where you can only have 10 points at the end of the tree that feels bad. Now, if this was in like the middle of the tree or even the beginning of the tree, I would say no problem. But where it's located is supposed to be the premium real estate. It's supposed to be those last 10 points where everything feels good. You want everything, every benefit. And just having 4 more seconds of cooldown reduction for Serenity when you have to hard cast a Prayer of Mending, feels horrible. Feels very, very bad. And I think that really needs to be able to have either a substantial buff to it, or they need to redesign and like push those points into a little bit different areas, and potentially add like stronger modifiers for like Divine Words or Prayer of Healing or Renew or something like that into the Holy Spec tree on its own, in order to be able to make it really good. Some things I think are kind of like easy fixes, like Lightwell, for example, is bugged. It has a crap radius. You know, there's like little things where I'm like, okay, they like put it into the game. They can worry about like tuning later to actually make it good. I'm not that concerned about them making it better. But, you know, why don't we have something where you can actively control the Lightwell, where you can make it flex into AoE healing or single target healing or whatever it is that you need? Why not make it cost a couple extra points to be able to get there in the first place, so that you'll be able to even take that talent and make it very powerful? You know, we saw the light effects that would come out of Anduin in the final phase when you're clearing your circle debuffs. Why can't we have it where the Lightwell is spewing out little sanctifies, and you can pick and choose where the target location is going to be able to go to, and it can splash heal a couple other allies? We've gone through 2 iterations already of Lightwell. Why bring back just one of them that people got bored of and got tired of? Lightwell's a very iconic ability, but it doesn't mean that it needs to be the exact same look that we've seen all the time in the past. I'd like that to be an area where they use a bit more imagination. And perhaps that's like my big problem with Holy Priest in general, is it seems like they haven't really flexed in their imagination very much for it. And they're like, well, all this stuff's worked in the past, let's just bring it back again. And that's fine. I enjoy the spec. I like what it brings to the table. I think the utility out of like Gales of Song, where you get more stacking Divine Hymn healing bonus for your raid, is like pretty good utility. It's a like pretty welcome increase, especially when you already have Symbol of Hope on hand, and you'll have more Holy Word Serenities, more single target healing. It doesn't seem like the mana costs are too terribly high for hitting a lot of flash heals, but it does feel slower, I will admit. Lastly was Imperial Blaze. I'm actually a pretty big fan of this, even though there seems to be like no cap to the Holy Fire duration. You can pretty much keep on stacking in an unlimited Holy Fire all the way up forever without consequence, which is kind of fun. But then you're looking at it and you're like, well, the target's going to die before they take all of this damage. It used to be that Holy Fire could stack to 2, and so maybe that's something that they should be doing with this ability, and they're almost certainly going to change the cooldown or change the ability, because this unlimited Holy Fire stuff I can't really imagine lasting. So make it more powerful, make the dot component more powerful, more oomph that gets added into the equation. Something like that I think will be really, really welcome. But overall, I think the problem with Holy and the state of Holy right now is what it almost always has been, is that they kind of play a little too safe. They know what's worked in the past, and they don't really try to branch out too terribly hard. And I think that they easily can make Lightwell better. They easily could improve the different components of Harmonious Apparatus and make those pieces better. But I'd really love for them to mess around with Divine Words a lot, even if there's some bad builds. Even if they make some bad build or bad use of Divine Word or change it in a weird way, I still really would like to see an iteration or two different that could flex you into a powerful Renew spammy sort of build. It could flex you into heavy Prayer of Healing casted build that'll allow you to be able to flex into hard single target where you need to, and really be a strong tool to show how versatile and diverse Holy Priest can be. That's my dream, but we'll have to see. Any other comments, any other things that you guys have noticed, definitely let me know. But I want to see some variety in terms of how the spec plays. I'd really love to see more talent options in the Holy Tree, but I know how hard that is when they still haven't released all the other healers and everything yet, so I'm not holding my breath. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below, and be sure to check out the live stream as well, as we're covering all kinds of different things in Alpha. All right, thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll catch y'all next time.